Good morning, I hope everyone's well today. Thank you for watching. It is appreciated as always. We've got a bit of an update regarding the Grooming Gang Scandal that has plagued this United Kingdom for at least 50 years, and it's still ongoing to this very day. I want to be clear, this is a racially targeted crime. It's committed predominantly by Pakistani Muslim men against white, indigenous girls and boys. Boys have been impacted by this as well. It is a race hate crime, and it's something that's been imported to the United Kingdom. This is probably the second worst atrocity inflicted on the United Kingdom by our elites, and it's something that we never voted for. We never voted for mass migration, which was the first, and this is a direct result of mass migration to the country. That's the first thing I want to get off my chest with this particular video. Then we move on to this. The mayor has been accused of covering grooming gangs in the capital. That's right, that's what our London mayor has been doing. The detail on that is not forthcoming. Well, it is forthcoming. I'll give you an update in a moment. First of all, we've had an update on the national inquiry. The UK shortlists Jim Gamble and Annie Hudson to chair grooming gang inquiry amid conflicts of criticism. The UK government has shortlisted former police officer Jim Gamble and social worker Annie Hudson to lead the national inquiry into grooming gangs, launched by the Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer in June 25, following an audit revealing systematic failures in child protection. I'll add safeguarding there as well. Both candidates will receive extensive experience in child safeguarding will meet supervisors panel this week before final selection by Starmer and Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood. Survivors and campaigners criticised the choices as conflicts of interest. I agree, citing past failures by the police and social services like in Rotherham and Rochdale, and call for independent judge to lead the probe. I completely agree. Many commentators will agree with this. We've had instances where police officers were actually involved in the grooming gangs. We've had instances where parents or victims of these grooming gangs were actually arrested and their children were not removed from the criminals, and they themselves were arrested as well. We've also had instances of social workers actually attending weddings of child brides to Pakistani men in this country. So it does not fill me with confidence at all if we've got former police officers and social workers chairing their inquiry. They're essentially going to be marking their own homework. This cannot be allowed to continue. Now we get on to the meat of the video, and that's regarding Sadiq Khan and his view on the grooming gangs. He says he's had no evidence that anything has happened in London. I'll save him a little bit of time and effort. If they're in Manchester, if they're in Glasgow, if they're in Liverpool, if they're in Rochdale, if they're in Rotherham, if they're down south in the home counties, if they're in Birmingham, if they're in Edinburgh, if they're up in Aberdeen, it's safe to assume they're going to be in the capital city. What do I know? I'm not an expert, but it stands to reason. Balance of probability, data-led approach. If it's happening all over the country, why would London be different? If anything, it's going to be much, much worse in London than it is anywhere else in the country. That's just common sense talking, and I'm leaning back into my data analysis days when I was in college. So that's just my view, and the evidence will always bear that out. Then we get into this. Sadiq Khan has been accused of covering up evidence of grooming gangs in London after an express investigation. The Mayor of London read reports of young girls being, I can't say that word on YouTube, raped in hotel rooms by men while publicly denying there were any grooming gangs in the capital. That sounds about right for our mayor. Grooming gang whistleblower Maggie Oliver told The Express that the cases followed the same pattern she'd seen in Greater Manchester. Well, of course it would, it'll just be on a bigger scale because of the capital city, obviously. Police cover-ups of the Rochdale scandal. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp MP accused Khan of being part of the cover-up. Well, they all are. They're all in on it. and called for accountability. He said it's shameful the Mayor of London is claiming to have no indication of grooming gangs operating in London, despite personally responding to reports containing evidence of victims abused by grooming gangs in the city. It is clear that Sadiq Khan is facilitating a cover-up. Well, yeah, but the Tories had 14 years to do something about it, and they didn't do anything about it either. The Mayor and the Metropolitan Police have consistently claimed they have no reports of Rochdale or Rotherham-style gangs in the capital, with Khan suggesting there was no indication they exist. That's a lie. However, in the pages of 4 different His Majesty's Inspector of Constabulary, Fire and Rescue Services reports, 2016 to 25, which the Mayor of London personally responded to, were found details of at least six potential victims. These were case studies assessed by Rochdale whistleblower Detective Maggie Oliver and care professionals and auditor Chris Wilde. They found red flags of grooming gang abuse. Oliver told she was certain that the 3 victims could be described as victims of a grooming gang. Based on the ground assessments of the Met handling of SA cases from the start of Khan's tenure this year. The Inspectorate reports explain, often in horrific detail, how the police were slow to react to evidence that the girls, as young as 13, were being targeted by predatory gangs of men. Pretty open and shut, I'm sure you'll agree. I think you'll agree with my assessment as well. If it's happening all over the country, why would it not be happening in London? If it was in one particular place, you could say that's an outlier, that it's not going to be anywhere else. If it's everywhere else, it's going to be in London. It's just on a much, much grander scale. Then we have a Assembly member in London, Susan Hall, trying to get a straight answer out of Sadiq Khan. I've played this clip before on my channel, but I'll play it again.
Question last week, and you found every which way but not to answer it. Just how many grooming gangs have we got in London?
Avoiding misunderstanding, can she define what she means by that?
She means Pakistani grooming gangs operating in London, attacking white girls and white boys. That's what she means.
Yes, if you look at what's gone on in Rotherham, where there are people taking young girls, grooming them for sex. That is what I'm talking about.
We know in London there are issues about exploitation of young people, but they're not as defined by the member in her definition of what those types of gangs are.
So are you saying we haven't got the same sort of gangs that are in Rotherham?
No, he's trying to get out of it on a technicality. He's saying they've not collated the evidence the way it's been collated in other places around the country. So because it's been can't even say that word. It's been categorised separately. They can say it's not happening when it's just been filed under a different label. That's all it is. So, let's continue.
Bradford and lots of other places in the country.
Just for the misunderstanding, what does she mean by that?
You know full well what I mean by that. It's all over the television. You know exactly what I mean by.
She means Pakistani men targeting indigenous people of the United Kingdom because they are white, because they are deemed less important and less necessary, and easy pickings. That's what she is afraid to say. Why is she afraid to say it? This conservative, why is she afraid to say it? She doesn't want to be called racist. She's still living in fear of being called a racist. I don't care. If 100% of these perpetrators were white, I would say so. They're not. And they're targeting the other people, the victims of it's down to race and class. That's why the ruling elites do not give ATOS, because the people of my social class, working class people all over the country, they're not considered of any relevance to the rulers. You're not considered into their calculation. That's the blatant truth of the matter. That is the truth. It's not we weren't heard. Oh, they heard. They hear our concerns. They hear our complaints. They hear every single day. What they don't like, what we're failing to realise is they don't care. They're gonna. How many times have we voted against mass migration? They did it anyway.
These gangs of people that are grooming young girls for sex Do we actually have those in London?
I'm unclear, Chair, what is meant by the question. If she could spell it out, I can answer.
I've just spelt it out. Are you not listening? It's the sort of gangs that groom young girls at a young age for sex.
We'll leave that there. He keeps on being evasive, not actually being pinned down to an answer. This is our mayor. He needs to go. Either Ant Middleton or whoever Reform UK decides to put through, they need to replace this tosspot. I've had enough. He needs to go. And if you think Scotland's going to be any better because law and order's actually devolved in Scotland, separate from England and Wales, they've just voted against the SNP rulers of Scotland. Have just voted against their own grooming gang inquiry, and they have declined to take part in the inquiry in England and Wales, and they've also declined to take part in the independent inquiry that Rupert Lowe is crowdfunding as well. So there you have it. Now, I believe the crowdfunder for Rupert Lowe's independent inquiry is still open. You may want to donate to it. I have no faith in the official inquiry. It'll be interesting to see when both inquiries are done, if we cross-reference that and check the homework that way. That might be the way to go. Let me know if you think I'm being too hard on the Muslim Mayor of London. You'll let me know if I'm being too easy on him. He needs to go either way. And let's not forget, he was a human rights lawyer, and I think he defended people that were responsible for the 9/11 atrocity in America. So you always need to consider where these bottom feeders come from. I appreciate your time. Like and subscribe. Do all that good stuff. Do all the great stuff you know you want to do. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.